Beloved, there is a mystery about silence that the world does not understand. We live in a time when everyone wants to be heard, when every thought must be posted, when every feeling must be shared. But oh, how little people realize the power that comes when you turn inward, when you shift your gaze from the noise around you and focus on what God is doing within you. Listen to me carefully. Your greatest transformation will not come from shouting your plans to the world. It will not come from trying to convince others of who you are. Your transformation will begin when you learn the sacred discipline of focusing on yourself. Your growth, your healing, your walk with God, and staying silent while He does His work in you. There is divine wisdom in silence. Silence does not mean weakness. Silence does not mean ignorance. Silence is strength under control. Silence is confidence that God Himself will vindicate you. And when you focus on yourself, on your own journey, on becoming who God has called you to be, then only then will your life truly transform. Let me give you 7 key truths that will change the way you live. There is a hidden power in keeping quiet, a power that the world has not yet learned. Most people spend their strength on words, arguing, defending, correcting, and proving themselves. And yet, beloved, the more you speak, the more of yourself you give away. The tongue can drain your spirit quicker than physical labor ever could. Words, when wasted, leave you tired, discouraged, and empty inside. But when you learn the discipline of silence, you will discover that silence preserves your strength like nothing else. Have you ever noticed that the battles which exhaust you the most are not always physical, but emotional and spiritual? It is not lifting heavy burdens or working long hours that wears the soul down the fastest. It is the constant noise, words exchanged in anger, conversations laced with misunderstanding, endless chatter that never brings life. Every time you try to defend yourself against false accusations, every time you argue just to prove a point, every time you allow yourself to get dragged into meaningless disputes, you are giving away the very energy you need to live your destiny. Silence is not weakness. Silence is protection. The world may tell you that if you don't speak, you will be forgotten. That if you don't defend yourself, you will be defeated. But, my friend, the opposite is true. When you remain silent in the face of noise, you rise above it. When you do not respond to every attack, you protect your inner peace. Think of the times you allowed yourself to answer back. Did it give you peace, or did it only stir more turmoil? Did it settle the matter, or did it leave you more restless than before? The truth is this: no argument has ever brought true transformation, but silence has stopped many storms. I have seen people waste the best years of their lives trying to explain themselves to others who never intended to understand them in the first place. Oh, how much life is lost in this endless cycle. And yet the one who chooses silence keeps his spirit strong. He keeps his focus where it belongs, on growth, on prayer, on purpose. The energy that could have been wasted in noise is redirected into becoming better, into drawing nearer to God, into building a life that speaks louder than words ever could. Silence is not the absence of power. It is the control of it. It is knowing that you have the strength to speak, the knowledge to respond, the ability to argue, but you choose not to. That choice itself is power. It is mastery over the tongue, mastery over the ego, mastery over the self. And when you can master your tongue, you can master your life. I think of the eagle soaring high in the sky. You know why the eagle can reach such heights? It does not waste its energy fighting with every bird that crosses its path. It knows its focus is upward. While the smaller birds scream and circle below, the eagle stays silent, spreading its wings, rising above the noise. That is what silence does. It lifts you higher while arguments keep you on the ground. Silence, my friend, also shields you from regret. Words spoken in anger cannot be taken back. A sharp response in the heat of the moment can wound more deeply than a sword. How many relationships have been broken? How many opportunities destroyed because someone could not hold their tongue? But the one who is silent gives himself time, time to think, time to pray, time to choose a response that brings life instead of destruction. In silence, you do not lose, you win. And do you know what else silence does? It confuses the enemy. Those who want to see you fall, those who expect you to fight back, those who feed on your reaction, they lose their power when you do not respond. Your silence becomes your armor. It shows that your spirit is not controlled by the opinions of others. It tells the world that your peace cannot be stolen. And in that peace, you conserve your strength and you are ready for the battles that truly matter. Beloved, do not waste your energy on what is beneath you. Not every criticism deserves a reply. Not every question requires an answer. Not every voice should be entertained. Save your strength for the things that will shape your destiny. Pour your energy into becoming the person God has called you to be. Invest it in prayer, in learning, in building, in loving, in serving. Do not give away your peace cheaply. Protect it with the shield of silence. One day when you look back, you will see how much strength you kept by holding your tongue. You will see that silence was not an empty act. It was a powerful choice. And in that choice, you will find that your energy was not wasted on noise, but was preserved for greatness. There is a gentle voice that longs to guide you, a whisper that carries the weight of eternity, and yet so few ever hear it. Not because God does not speak. Oh, he speaks more often than you realize. But because the noise of this world drowns out his still, small voice. You see, God does not shout over your distractions. He will not force his voice into your chaos. He waits for you to be still, to quiet your heart, to silence your tongue. And in that silence, his words become clear. We live in an age where people are addicted to noise. There is music playing from morning until night, endless conversations on the phone, debates on television, chatter on social media. People fill their ears with so much sound that they leave no space for the voice of God. And then they say, "I do not hear him. God is silent." My friend, it is not that he is silent. It is that you are too loud. When you practice silence, when you deliberately step away from the chatter, you create a sacred space, and in that space God begins to speak. Sometimes he speaks through a scripture that suddenly comes alive in your heart. Sometimes it is a quiet conviction that stirs you to change. Sometimes it is peace that washes over you, even when circumstances remain the same. But you will never recognize these moments if you are always speaking, always rushing, always filling the air with words. Do you remember the story of Elijah? After the wind, after the earthquake, after the fire, there was a gentle whisper, and in that whisper God was present. If Elijah had been listening only for the loud, the dramatic, the earth-shaking, he would have missed the voice of God. And so it is with you. God often speaks, not in the thunder, but in the stillness, not in the storm, but in the silence. This is why silence is not emptiness. Silence is invitation. It is not that you are doing nothing when you are quiet. You are opening the door for God to enter. You are saying, Lord, I do not need to fill this space with my words. I want to hear yours. And in that humble surrender, he begins to guide your steps. Some of you pray, but your prayers are filled only with requests, with long speeches, with many words. You pour out your heart, which is good, but then you walk away before God can answer. Prayer is not just talking to God. Prayer is also listening. And you cannot listen if you never stop speaking. Silence in prayer is the place where revelation comes. It is where burdens are lifted. It is where answers are found. Think about it. When you are constantly speaking, you already know what is being said. It is only your own voice. But when you are silent, you give yourself the chance to hear something new, something higher, something divine. And oh, the guidance that comes when God speaks. One word from him can bring more clarity than 1,000 of your own thoughts. One whisper from him can save you from years of wandering down the wrong path. The world will try to convince you that silence is wasted time. They will say you must always be doing, always be talking, always be planning. But let me tell you, the time you spend in silence with God is the most productive time of all, because in that silence, your spirit aligns with his will. In that silence, confusion lifts and wisdom flows. In that silence, you stop leaning on your own understanding and begin to trust his direction. And let me tell you something else. When you live from a place of hearing God in the silence, you will not need to chase people's opinions anymore. You will not have to beg for advice from those who do not understand your journey. Because when the Creator of heaven and earth whispers to your heart, no other voice matters. Silence is also the birthplace of courage. Fear thrives in noise, but courage is born in the stillness of God's presence. When you hear him say, "Do not be afraid, for I am with you," it will steady you more than any human encouragement ever could. And you will walk with a quiet confidence that confuses those around you, because your strength is not in yourself, but in the one who spoke to you in silence. Beloved, do not despise the moments of silence. They are not empty. They are sacred. They are the places where heaven bends low to speak to your soul. Do not be afraid to turn off the noise, to withdraw from the chatter, to still your heart before God. For it is in that silence that you will hear his voice. And once you have heard his voice, truly heard it, you will never be the same again. Transformation does not begin outside of you. It does not begin with what others think, with how they treat you, or with what they say about you. True transformation begins within the hidden chambers of your own heart. So many people spend their lives looking outward, measuring themselves by the progress of others, comparing their worth with what someone else has achieved. But my friend, the moment you stop chasing after someone else's shadow and begin to focus on your own soul, that is the moment your life will truly begin to change. Comparison is a thief. It robs you of peace. It steals your joy. And it blinds you to the work that God is doing inside of you. How many times have you felt inadequate? Not because you lacked something, but simply because you were staring at another person's journey. You saw their success and suddenly felt behind. You heard their testimony and suddenly felt forgotten. But hear me, your chapter 1 cannot look like someone else's chapter 20. Your journey is unique, your story is sacred, and God is writing it in His own perfect timing. When you focus on yourself, you give God the space to shape you without distraction. Instead of saying, "Why not me?" you begin to say, "Lord, make me ready." You stop wasting energy trying to keep up with others, and you start investing that energy into becoming the person God has called you to be. Focusing on yourself is not selfishness, it is stewardship. It is the recognition that the greatest gift you can give to the world is a version of yourself that has been healed, refined, and strengthened by God's hand. Growth takes place in hidden places. A tree does not grow by comparing itself to another tree. It simply stretches toward the light day by day. So must you. Every moment you spend nurturing your mind, strengthening your character, deepening your relationship with God, you are laying roots that will one day sustain the weight of your destiny. The fruit will come, but first the roots must grow. And those roots grow when your focus is on your own soil, not on someone else's garden. Do not despise the small steps. Too often people become discouraged because they cannot yet see the full picture of who they are becoming. They want immediate change, immediate success, immediate recognition. But transformation is a process. A diamond is not formed in an instant. It is shaped under pressure, hidden beneath the earth, long before it shines for the world to see. And so it is with you. Your silent work, your daily choices, your consistent focus on becoming better, these are the things that transform you over time. And listen carefully. When you begin to focus on yourself, you will discover a strength you never knew you had. Because the moment you stop living for applause, you stop being controlled by rejection. The moment you stop measuring yourself by others, you stop being enslaved by comparison. You become free, free to live at your own pace, free to walk in your own calling, free to celebrate others without jealousy, because their success does not threaten your journey. There will be those who misunderstand your focus. They will call it pride. They will call it isolation. They will say you have changed, and indeed you have, but not in the way they think. You are no longer wasting your life trying to please everyone else. You are choosing to protect your peace. You are choosing to build quietly so that when the time comes, the transformation God has been working in you will be undeniable. My friend, do not underestimate the power of inner work. It is not glamorous. It is not often celebrated. People may not notice when you choose discipline over laziness, prayer over distraction, forgiveness over bitterness, but heaven notices. And one day, the fruit of your private growth will be evident to all. The strength you build in silence will sustain you when the storms come. The character you form when no one is watching will carry you when everyone is. So turn your eyes away from the noise. Stop chasing after the validation of others. Stop running in circles of comparison. Instead, focus on the person you see in the mirror. Ask yourself, am I becoming more patient, more faithful, more disciplined, more loving? These are the true measures of transformation. And as you focus on yourself, step by step, you will find that you are not the same person you were yesterday. You are stronger, wiser, more rooted. And one day, without you even realizing it, the world will look at you and see a life transformed. Not by striving to be like others, but by faithfully focusing on who God created you to be. One of the greatest mistakes people make is speaking too soon. They receive a vision, a dream, an idea, a calling, and in their excitement they rush to tell everyone. They cannot contain the joy of what God has planted within them, so they announce it before it has taken root. But my friend, not everyone will rejoice with you. Not everyone will celebrate your dream. And if you are not careful, the very thing God entrusted to you in secret can be damaged by the jealousy, doubt, or misunderstanding of others. Some of you are wondering why your plans fell apart, why doors closed so quickly, why you faced resistance at the very beginning. It is not because your dream was wrong. It is because you spoke it into the wrong ears. You must understand that there are people around you who cannot handle what God has given you. Some will envy it, some will mock it, some will try to destroy it, not because the dream is weak, but because their hearts are not prepared to hear it. Protect what God has whispered to you in the silence of prayer. Hold it close until He tells you the time has come to speak. Consider Joseph. God gave him a dream of greatness, of rising above his brothers, of being lifted to a place of honor. But when he told his brothers, their hearts filled with jealousy. They could not see the hand of God in his life. Instead, they conspired against him, and Joseph's journey to fulfillment became one of betrayal and suffering. The dream was true, the vision was real, but sharing it too soon brought unnecessary pain. And yet, even in that, God's hand prevailed. But let Joseph's story be a lesson. Not every dream is meant to be spoken in its early stages. Some dreams must be guarded until they are strong enough to stand on their own. You see, when a seed is planted in the ground, it is hidden. It is not exposed to the open air. It grows in silence, in darkness, away from the eyes of those who might trample it. If the seed were brought out too soon, it would die before it had a chance to grow roots. And so it is with the dreams God plants in your heart. They must remain hidden for a season, nurtured in prayer, strengthened by faith, protected by silence. Only then will they be ready to break through the surface and bear fruit. Silence, therefore, is not a prison for your dream. It is a shield. It is a covering that protects what is fragile until it becomes unshakable. By keeping silent, you give God room to nurture the vision. You give Him space to prepare you for the responsibility that comes with it. Too many people want the stage before they are ready, the recognition before they have the character, the breakthrough before they have the strength to carry it. But God, in His wisdom, often requires silence so that both the dream and the dreamer can grow. There will come a day when the vision must be spoken. There will come a day when the dream must be declared. But let that day be God's timing, not yours. If you wait, the fruit will speak for itself. You will not need to convince others. The evidence will be undeniable. Those who doubted you will see with their own eyes. Those who dismissed you will witness the hand of God upon your life. And by then, your dream will be too strong to be destroyed by envy, too established to be shaken by doubt. Think of how many people lose their strength because they seek validation too early. They share their vision, hoping for encouragement, but instead they receive criticism. They look for applause, but instead meet silence. And in that moment, their hearts grow discouraged, and they begin to doubt what God has said. Protect yourself from this disappointment. Protect your dream from this premature exposure. Do not let the opinions of people kill what God has breathed into your spirit. Beloved, there is wisdom in secrecy. Not everything God tells you must be shared. Some things are for your heart alone. Some revelations are meant to be treasures hidden between you and your Creator. Learn to cherish those sacred moments. Learn to be content with carrying the dream quietly, knowing that heaven has heard it, knowing that God Himself will bring it to pass. Do not fear that silence will bury your dream. No, silence is where your dream grows roots deep enough to withstand the storms ahead. And when the time comes, it will rise, not by your words, but by God's power. Protect your dream, and your dream will protect you. Guard it in silence. And one day, the fruit of your obedience will transform not only your life, but the lives of many around you. There is a strength that few ever discover because it hides behind restraint. It is the strength of discipline, the power of choosing silence when everything in you wants to respond. Do you know how easy it is to let words fly when someone wounds you, when someone lies about you, when someone provokes you? The natural impulse is to defend yourself, to explain, to strike back with your tongue. And yet the one who masters silence in these moments rises above the level of their accuser. It is not weakness to stay quiet, it is discipline, and discipline is a sign of true maturity. So many people believe that strength is measured in how loudly they speak, how forcefully they argue, how quickly they can reply, but that is not strength, that is impulse. True strength is when you have every reason to speak, every ability to answer back, every justification to fight, and yet you choose not to. That is discipline, that is character, that is the mark of one who has mastered themselves. Think for a moment. How many battles have you fought with your words that led nowhere? How many arguments have you entered that only left you exhausted, without peace and without resolution? The tongue can stir storms that never needed to exist. One word spoken in anger can fracture a relationship for years. One harsh response can destroy trust that took decades to build. But silence preserves. Silence shields. Silence keeps you from making a wound deeper than it needs to be. There is wisdom in pausing before you respond. In that pause, you give your emotions time to settle. You give your heart a chance to align with wisdom instead of impulse. And often, in that pause, you will realize that no response is needed at all. Silence itself is the answer. It shows that your peace is not easily stolen, that your character is not easily shaken, that your spirit is not enslaved by every careless word spoken against you. Discipline in silence also teaches you mastery over your own ego. The ego always cries out. Defend yourself. Prove them wrong. Make them see who you are. But the disciplined soul knows that true identity is not built on the opinions of others. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone when God Himself knows who you are. Silence becomes the evidence of your security. You are not desperate to be understood because you are already understood by the one who matters most. Do you realize how much stronger your life becomes when you refuse to be controlled by provocation? Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, the wind raging, the voices rising, and yet you remain calm. That calmness confuses your enemies. It disarms those who wanted to see you shaken. It shows that your strength does not come from circumstances, but from within. This is the fruit of discipline, the ability to remain unmoved when everything around you tries to move you. Even more, silence in discipline draws respect. People may not admit it, but deep down they admire the one who does not lose control. Anyone can shout, anyone can argue, anyone can lash out, but it takes greatness to stay quiet. It takes wisdom to wait, and it takes courage to let your actions speak louder than your words. Over time, your silence will say more about your strength than your arguments ever could. Think of how much energy you preserve when you choose silence. Instead of wasting hours rehashing arguments, instead of carrying the burden of regret over words you cannot take back, you remain at peace. That peace becomes your strength. You can channel that energy into growth, into prayer, into building the life God has called you to. Silence, born of discipline, frees you from the endless cycle of reaction and places you firmly on the path of purpose. Yes, there will be times when silence feels like defeat. Your flesh will scream that you are letting someone win. But remember, victory is not always seen in the moment. Often victory comes later when your peace remains intact, when your reputation stands strong, when your future opens wide because you refuse to be trapped in meaningless battles. In truth, every time you discipline yourself to stay silent, you are winning a battle greater than any argument, the battle over yourself. And let me tell you something precious. Discipline in silence is not developed in one moment. It is a practice. It is built choice by choice, situation by situation. The more you practice, the stronger you become. What was once difficult becomes natural. And as you grow in this discipline, you will find that silence is not emptiness. It is mastery. It is strength clothed in stillness. It is the mark of one who has been transformed from the inside out. Beloved, discipline your tongue. Guard your responses. Let silence be your teacher. In it you will discover a strength greater than words, a wisdom deeper than arguments, a peace richer than victory. And in that discipline, your life will shine, not because of what you say, but because of what you choose not to say. One of the greatest prisons a person can live in is the prison of other people's approval. It is a heavy chain, and it is invisible, yet it binds millions. How many dreams have been delayed because someone was waiting for applause before they moved? How many gifts have been buried because someone feared criticism? How many destinies have been lost because people lived their entire lives trying to please voices that never really mattered? But my friend, when you begin to focus on yourself and stay silent about your progress, something miraculous happens. You break free from the need for validation. You discover that your worth has never depended on the clapping of hands, but on the one who created you. Think about it. From the time we are children, we are conditioned to crave approval. A child draws a picture and runs to show it to someone, waiting for a smile. A young adult achieves something and immediately looks around for applause. And even as grown men and women, we measure ourselves by the praise of others. But the danger is this: when you live for applause, you will die in silence. If your value is tied to the approval of people, then the moment they withhold it, you will crumble. But if your value is anchored in God, you will stand firm whether people cheer or whether they criticize. When you focus on yourself, quietly building, quietly growing, you no longer feel the desperate need to announce every step. You are not seeking likes or comments to prove that you are valuable. You know in your heart that progress is being made, even if no one else sees it. And that, beloved, is freedom. You no longer perform for the crowd. You live for the purpose. You no longer seek to impress. You seek to improve. Silence, in this way, becomes your ally. It keeps your motives pure. Because the moment you start speaking too loudly about your growth, it is easy to slip into the trap of performing for recognition. But when you are silent, your progress is between you and God. There is no pressure to prove anything to anyone. You are free to stumble, free to learn, free to grow, without an audience judging every step. This is the kind of freedom that allows true transformation to take place. Do not misunderstand me. Affirmation from others is not wrong. Encouragement is a gift, and support is beautiful, but they are not the foundation. They must never become the reason you move forward. Because if you need someone's approval to begin, you will need their approval to continue. And one day, when that approval is taken away, you will stop altogether. But the one who learns to walk silently, focusing on themselves, anchored in God's approval alone, will never stop. They will keep moving, no matter who notices. You see, people are fickle. Today they will cheer for you, and tomorrow they will forget your name. Today they will praise you, and tomorrow they may criticize you. If your identity is rooted in their voices, you will be tossed about like a leaf in the wind. But when your identity is rooted in silence, where it is just you and God, then your strength cannot be stolen. You do not rise and fall with opinions. You rise and fall with His direction. This freedom also allows you to love people more deeply, because when you are no longer enslaved to their approval, you can serve them without expecting anything in return. You can give without needing recognition. You can love without fear of rejection. You are not loving for validation. You are loving because love flows naturally out of who you are becoming. And that, my friend, is the most powerful way to live. Do you know what else happens when you stop depending on approval? You become fearless. You begin to take steps that others only dream of. Because you are no longer waiting for permission, you move boldly in the direction of your calling. You take risks. You embrace challenges. You break boundaries, not because someone told you it was okay, but because you know deep within yourself that God has called you. And in that confidence, your life begins to expand. So I say to you, release yourself from the chains of approval. Focus on your journey. Build in silence. Grow in silence. Let the results speak louder than your words. And when the fruit appears, when the transformation is visible, it will not matter who clapped or who criticized, because the evidence will be undeniable. Your life itself will be the testimony. Beloved, do not give anyone the power to define your worth. You were valuable before they applauded you, and you will be valuable after they stop. Walk in that freedom. Focus on yourself. Stay silent and watch as your life transforms, not because of their approval, but because of God's hand upon you. There is something mysterious and sacred about the seasons of silence. They are not easy, and they are rarely understood. In fact, many of you may be in such a season right now. You feel hidden, unseen, forgotten, as though nothing is happening. But let me assure you, God does his greatest work in the silence. What looks like delay is often preparation. What feels like stillness is often growth taking place beneath the surface. Think of the seed planted in the soil. For a long time, nothing appears to happen. Days pass, weeks pass, and there is no sign of life above the ground. To the casual observer, it looks dead, but underground, something powerful is happening. The seed is breaking open. Roots are stretching deep. Life is forming in secret. And when the time is right, it bursts forth stronger and more resilient than it ever could have been if it had been exposed too soon. That is what silence does. It prepares you for the breakthrough. We live in a culture of immediacy. Everyone wants results today, recognition now, breakthrough instantly. But God's process has never changed. He takes time to shape the vessel before he pours in the oil. He takes time to form the foundation before he builds the house. He takes time to prepare the heart before he releases the promise. And that time of preparation often comes in silence. You may feel overlooked, but you are being prepared. You may feel ignored, but you are being refined. This is why you must not despise the silent seasons. They are not wasted. They are sacred. In silence, your character is being shaped. In silence, your faith is being stretched. In silence, your patience is being stretched. In silence, your patience is being stretched. And all of this is necessary because the weight of your future cannot rest on a weak foundation. If God gave you the breakthrough too soon, it would crush you. But when you allow the silent season to do its work, you emerge ready to carry the blessing, ready to handle the responsibility, ready to walk in the fullness of what he has planned. And hear me, beloved. Silence is not abandonment. Silence is training. Just because God is quiet does not mean he has left you. Just because heaven feels still does not mean heaven is not working. The teacher is often silent during the test, but that does not mean he is absent. He is watching to see what you have learned, to see if you can stand firm in what he has already taught you. And when the test is over, when the silence has done its work, then comes the breakthrough. There is also something powerful about how silence disarms your enemies. When those around you expect a reaction, expect you to stumble, expect you to collapse, and yet you remain steady in silence, it confuses them. They cannot understand how you endure without complaint, how you keep walking without explanation, how you continue to grow when no one is watching. And it is in that silence that God himself becomes your defender. You do not need to prove anything, because he will vindicate you. You do not need to shout, because the breakthrough itself will speak louder than words ever could. Every great story in Scripture includes a season of silence. Moses was hidden in the wilderness for 40 years before God sent him back to lead Israel. David was anointed king, yet he spent years in obscurity before he sat on the throne.